Yo, what up? Welcome back, everybody. It's the opening line right here, part of the Elite Fantasy Sports Network. Main man, Corey Parson, the fantasy executive, my guy, Beny Ricciardi. Beny, I'm feeling pretty good this morning. I woke up with a couple extra dollars in my FanDuel Sportsbook account.
Yeah, so for some reason, the DraftKings Sportsbook account has a little bit of an issue this morning because I woke up expecting to see the extra money in my account from that Belmont win last night, and for some reason I couldn't log on. So I sent support an email. I'll worry about that shit after the show.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll get it straightened up and figured out. So you was on Belmont too. Let me see. I had a money line parlay with Belmont and NC State.
Okay.
I had Clemson in it. NC State won. I had Clemson in that same parlay, but I got cold feet and took them out, and Clemson ended up covering the spread and everything. So we had a good night. Listen, we're trying to build the account up so we can really go crazy starting on tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically the idea. I was looking at this as let me get a couple extra dollars in there so I had some more ammo to fire on Thursday and Friday while we sit here and watch games for, I don't know, the better part of 8 straight hours from about
No doubt about it, but he definitely are looking forward to tomorrow. Tomorrow, one of the high holy days in sports, so it's going to be cool to get down on that, and a little bit later on in the program, get you ready for tonight's action in the first four. Got a local team tonight. Got St. John's taking on Arizona State, so get ready to go ahead and break that down. But obviously, Beny, after we got off the air yesterday, the big story in sports was Mike Trout, the richest contract in pro sports history, almost $500 million. A lot of people thought Harper would get this kind of money, Machado would get this kind of money. The A's come up, well, not the A's, the Angels. The A's would never pay nobody this kind of money.
No.
They wouldn't pay this kind of money for a stadium.
I don't know if their entire payroll for the 2000 to 2010 seasons was this kind of money.
You're 100% correct. So the Angels, excuse me, not the A's. The A's would never drop this kind of bread. They go out there, they extend Trout to make him the highest paid professional athlete ever. And listen, a lot of people say that he deserves it. Beny, would you say that Mike Trout is the best player in professional sports, the best pro athlete, meaning the best at what he does? Like, there's no football player better at what he does. There's no NBA player better at what he does.
I mean, he's the best baseball player. I'm not even going to have that argument with people. He's the best baseball player overall. There's a few other guys you can make an argument for, but Trout's number one. So really, I guess the question is he better than – you know, who we talking here? Tom Brady, LeBron James? I think
LeBron is old. I would say Giannis right now. James Harden, Giannis type guy. And maybe in football, Pat Mahomes, who's going to get his big money any day now too. Well, not a couple years from now.
My biggest thing is, like, for me, when there's only 5 guys on the floor, a basketball player can affect the game. A single basketball player can affect the game more than a single baseball player getting up once every 2 to 3 innings. And, you know, playing in the field and maybe getting, 3 balls hit to him in an entire game or so.
No doubt.
So, I mean, and again, this isn't a knock on Mike Trout. Like I said, Mike Trout is the best baseball player in America right now by far, in my opinion. But I feel like in basketball, with only 5 guys on the floor and the amount of time that the main guys are on the floor, one player can affect the basketball game more than one player can affect a football game or a baseball game. So I won't say he's the most valuable because of that reason, but he's the best baseball player in America, the most valuable baseball player in America. And based on the money that other baseball players are getting, he deserves to be the highest paid baseball player.
Just that point blank, that simple for Mike Trout. He gets his big contract. He gets his big deal. 12 years, $430 million, all of it guaranteed. All of it guaranteed.
Must be nice, man. $430 million guaranteed over the next 10 years. Nice.
Where do the Anaheim Angels get this kind of money from? Are they one of the big – they're not – they play in, don't get me wrong, California, Los Angeles team, you know, the Anaheim area, whatever the case may be. But they are like – I don't want to say cellar dwellers, but they're like third place in the AL West.
Well, they get this money. They get all this money because they don't pay anybody else. Like, they don't have any other good players on that team. I mean, that's the one thing that everyone's been saying, right? I mean, you have the best player in America on your team, but what do you have around him? You know, I mean, he's got Cole Calhoun hitting cleanup for him. He's got guys that are, 280 hitters and, hitting 20 home runs, being the guys at the top of the order around them. If you don't put some players around them, you're never going to win games. So, you could pay him $400 million, but again, baseball is not a sport where one guy's going to win it by himself. As good as Trout is, the Angels aren't going anywhere until they get some other players.
Full disclosure, I don't know about you, Benny. I don't know about Mike Trout, but if you're giving me half a billy and I'm in third place every year in my division, I'm all right with that.
I mean, again, I was the one who tweeted out about Manny Machado when everybody's like, oh, Machado's an idiot. $300 million to go live in San Diego for 10 years. You can call me an idiot all you want. I'm living in San Diego in my 20s making $300 million. I can guarantee you my life doesn't suck.
My man, Manny Machado, getting it done. You know what I'm saying? Make sure that you hit that subscribe button so you know when the video is posted each and every day. So obviously after this happened yesterday, a lot of the conversations turned to, baseball money, fully guaranteed. Kyler Murray shouldn't play football. He should go play baseball. Yada, 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 this, that, and the third. A lot of it, which I agree with, you know what I'm saying? The NFL is the harshest one on their players. A lot of people say, well, that's the players' union fault, the players' union in bed. I think the NFL could be looking at a labor outage coming up in 2021. So what I don't understand, though, Benny, when you look through, like, someone on Twitter and stuff, why do fans, particularly NFL fans, side with million-dollar owners more than they do with the players? Like, why do the fans have this thing where, like, it's almost like they be like, when you talk about the owners, the fans say, well, they own the team, they earned the money. But look at the players like, well, the players at the genetic lottery.
I mean, here's part of the reason, in my opinion, is like if you're like, again, we've been cracking on Giant fans all week here.
No doubt.
If you're a Giant fan, whether you like it or not, players are going to come and go. Guys are going to be with you for a couple years. You're going to let guys go in free agency. You're going to trade guys away. You're stuck with whatever owner your team has. Believe me, I'm a Jets fan. I've had Woody Johnson for a long time right now. You're stuck with the owner that you have. So I think fans being more loyal to their team than the players, kind of have that gut reaction and defend their team, which means they're defending the ownership, even though in real life, if their boss did the kind of shit that an owner in an NFL team did to some of their players, these would be the same people on Twitter, yelling and screaming and moaning and calling the Civil Liberties Union and trying to get their jobs and all that back. So, again, it's a little hypocritical, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I never could really understand it. Like this notion that, or this idea that, the players just got lucky. You know what I'm saying? They 6'7", 285, can run a 4.40. You can't. You're just not born like that. You do have to work at these skills.
Well, I mean, there are people who hit the genetic lottery. I mean, like LeBron James. I played basketball my entire life. I was never going to be the player LeBron James is because best case scenario, I'm 5'8", 160. He's 6'8", 260. But the thing that people discount is LeBron James works his ass off.
No doubt.
LeBron James is up at 9 in the morning. He's lifting weights. He's working out. He's running. He's doing all this. You don't become a great player. You don't become a professional athlete just based on athletic ability. There's a lot of guys with a lot of athletic ability that right now are selling cars or working insurance or doing something like that because they didn't put in the work. Yes, it helps that you hit the genetic lottery and you have, the size and the skills to be special at the next level. But even the guy at the end of the bench has been working on becoming a good athlete at whatever sport he's playing literally for his entire life.
No doubt. I've known some pro athletes in the past before, right? And this is the amazing thing about athletes are they sleep like it's nobody's business. But that's a part of being a professional athlete. You don't need, listen, I go to bed, tab me 3 or 4 beds, get me 4 or 5 hours, you know what I'm saying? Wake up and start the process over. Pro athletes don't live like that. Pro athletes get 8-10 hours of sleep a night. Everything is about protecting that body. Your health is your wealth. That's how you get your money. It is something that you have to work on. Where, Jerry Jones is an oil wildcatter.
Yeah, I mean, basically these guys, that's what I'm saying is these people don't understand. Like, even if you knew anybody who played college athletics, right? Like, you have friends that played college athletics. They were up at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, either going to weight room or going to workouts. And then you go to class from 9 o'clock to 2 or 3. And then you had to practice later on in the day at at 4 or 5 o'clock at night. That's a tough schedule, man. By 5:30 at night after you eat dinner, you're ready to pass out and go to sleep because you got to be up at 7 o'clock or 6:30 the next morning to go and lift weights again. I mean, again, if I'm up at 6:30 in the morning when I was in college, it was because I didn't go to sleep the night before and I've been drinking.
You broke
yeah,
it.
that didn't take a lot of athletic ability. I didn't do anything. You know, it was just this the whole time. So, you know, I'm not running up and down. I'm not working out. But yeah, I mean, if you had friends that played, you know, any kind of college athletics, they kept really weird hours. They were working out in the morning. They were working out a second time in the afternoon. You know, they had games. They're traveling. You know, travel takes a lot out of you, especially when you're a college athlete or a professional athlete. You're traveling basically half the month. Half the time you got home games. The other half the time you're going somewhere else to play. You know, that's not an easy lifestyle to lead.
Benny, in my high school, the basketball team would have a 5 a.m. practice, 5 to 6 on the court, practicing from 5 to 6 a.m.
Yep.
Then from 6 to 7 a.m., they were in study hall. By the time we rolled into school, they've been here for 2 hours already.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying when people say, oh, these guys got lucky and hit the genetic lottery. Like, yeah, you know, especially depending on what sport you're playing. I mean, you could be a little fat guy playing baseball and being a catcher and still be a stud. But, you know, like if you're playing a basketball, if you're playing a skill position in football, yeah, you probably did get lucky and win some kind of genetic lottery. But you weren't the only winner of that lottery. There's other people who won that lottery too and didn't turn themselves into good athletes. And then there are other people who didn't win that lottery, but they worked their ass off and they wound up becoming pretty good athletes. So there's more than one way to get it done there. To say that, you know, these guys just got lucky and, you know, I mean, even with the billionaires, the billionaire owners, when you're like, oh, these billionaire owners, they made all this money, they worked hard. A lot of these people, like, you know, inherited the money from their parents who started the company, or, you know, they come from money and they use that money to start a business that they have. So don't act like they work their butts off.
Exactly. That's why it's always so odd to me. Like the people, they look at the owners like, okay, the owners earned this money.
Maybe some of them did.
Some of them did. You're right, but a good majority.
Hey, Woody Johnson with the Jets is a perfect example. Woody Johnson didn't start Johnson & Johnson. His father did.
There you go.
So he was born into it, and he took it over. Now, again, I'm not knocking Woody Johnson. He is a good.
Yeah, I'm not knocking no billionaire owners too. I'm just saying the playing field needs to be leveled.
You know, but to say that everybody worked their butts off to get there, it's not entirely true on either side. You know. Exactly.
So, Benny, I woke up this morning, and I'm running around doing stuff and shit, and I see that it's a baseball game was going on overnight. What the hell was that about? Like real life game, won, record, stats, all of that count.
Yeah, they do it. They've been doing it the last couple of years. I mean, we see this in every sport, right? With football, with them trying to get a game in England every year, and basketball, they're trying to go down to Mexico and play some games down there in Mexico. Basically, everyone's just trying to build the brand internationally.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
The last couple of years, MLB's been starting the season with like an exhibition game over in Japan, and they play like basically a 3-game series, I think it is, or a 4-game. I forget which one it was. But, yeah, that's basically what it's all about, is they starting it over there, trying to grow the game internationally. I mean, hey, the more you can grow the game, we take it for granted in this country, but in other countries, they're just starting to get things like televisions in every household. And I mean, it's half a joke, but it's true. So these people are still potential customers for these leagues. And
especially these leagues need customers, because as entertainment changes, you know what I'm saying? There's so many different forms of entertainment where, you know, sitting down and watching a baseball game may not be the thing. And, you know, like it used to be in this country. So you do need that international and that brandness. So I see where Domingo.
Hold on. I mean, you were talking a minute ago about how do they pay Mike Trout $400 million? Stuff like this is how they're able to pay Mike Trout, because now they're growing the game internationally. You got kids in Japan that are going to be buying Mike Trout jerseys and, you know, the MLB package so they can watch games. That's how you get the money to pay a guy like Mike Trout $400 million.
Nail on the head right there with that one, Benny. So Domingo Santana hits a grand slam. He's a player a lot of people are high on coming into the season.
I mean, listen, I loved him in Milwaukee. The problem with him in Milwaukee was always that they brought in all these other outfielders to the point where, like, last year he couldn't find any playing time. Domingo Santana, a couple years ago when they had some injuries in the outfield, his numbers are really, really good. He absolutely crushes left-handed pitching, and he's serviceable enough against righties. The thing that my only beef with Domingo Santana is most of his career he's played in Milwaukee. And, you know, Miller Park is home run fan. Yeah, it's like it's a really good place to be hitting. So, you know, you got to see how he hits when he gets away from there. But Domingo Santana is a very good player. And the thing is, he does it all, right? Like for fantasy, he steals bases, he hits home runs. I don't know exactly where they're going to slot him in the order here, but he's definitely a guy that has upside that's worth taking a chance on.
That's right. Fantasy baseball season getting ready to get started. If you are a DFS player, GuruElite.com is where you want to go to right now. Sign up for that DFS season-long package, the optimizers, the lineups, the optimizers, the cheat sheets, all the stuff that comes along with it, the cash game breakdown, the GPP breakdown. That is GuruElite.com, FantasyGuru.com for you season-long heads. Mans, Flowers, and Settler got you guys covered. Man, Benny, last night, I started to bet the Kings last night, right? I did too. On the Kings. I have a terrible time betting on the Nets. If I put my money on the Nets, they lose. I go against the Nets, they win. So I've left the Nets off of my cards altogether. I just can't do it with the Nets. It's not clicking. I think it might be biased because I don't like the Nets. You know what I'm saying? Net fans been very critical of me. I've been very critical of the Nets. I've called the Nets an irrelevant ABA franchise. They might as well play with a red, white, and blue basketball. You're in Brooklyn, New York. Brooklyn, New York, if it was a city by itself, it would be the 8th largest city in America. The Brooklyn Nets are dead last in attendance. The New York Knicks are a horrible basketball team. They're one of the top of attendance. The Nets are an irrelevant franchise. Now, D'Angelo Russell, 44 points last night, brings them back from down 25 in the fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. I got to give D'Angelo Russell his props, son. D'Angelo Russell is having a hell of a season. Comeback player of the year. He got it done. Shout out to D. Russell. He really turned his career around, and he's still a very young man.
And you know what's kind of weird, too, is if you really look at the game logs with him, he's not even playing, like, super big minutes, like 35, 40 minutes every night because they have so many other guys out there, especially now that Karis LeVert is back and Spencer Dinwiddie and all those other guys. I mean, he's playing awesome. He was in the cash game right up yesterday. I actually had him on the cash game team, nice. So I was happy about that. But he ruined my parlay last night because I had a 3-team parlay last night with Belmont was one of them, the 76ers, and then Sacramento. And the funny thing is I didn't stay up. Like, normally I stay up, but I was sleepy. I was tired last night. I went to bed before the fourth quarter started. So I went to bed thinking that I'm going to wake up with an extra, $400-something in my account because I'm going to hit that parlay. And I woke up this morning and I started looking through the box scores for the NBA games while I was doing stuff for the night. And I was like, holy shit, the Nets won that game last night? Like, I was like, they were down 20 when I went to sleep. And that's actually how the whole thing started, where I couldn't get on the DraftKings Sportsbook because I was like, wait, now I got to go see how much money I got on my account because I was expecting a much bigger number when I woke up today.
Nah, no doubt. Listen, I give him his props.
Yeah.
You got to give him his props for what he's done this season, the way he's turned it around. Kenny Atkinson, that net team, they're doing a good job. Right now, I think the Nets are the 6th seed. They're the 7th seed in the East, right? Yeah, the Nets are the 7th seed in the East.
It's 6 or 7, depending on yesterday, but they're down there. They're in the playoffs, but they're one of the last couple teams.
Look at the 7th seed in the East. Yeah. Looking at Toronto in the first round, I don't think Toronto will sweep them, but I do think the Nets, good season and a good foundation moving forward.
Well, the thing that I like that they have is they have a lot of solid young players on kind of cheap contracts. And the reason why that's important is those are the kind of guys that people want to trade for. Like if you can get a Spencer Dinwiddie still on his rookie deal or, a Karis LeVert still on his rookie deal where you're only paying this guy a couple $1 million and you got him locked up for another couple years, those are the kind of guys that have a lot of value in the trade market. So, again, they have to figure out. My biggest problem with them right now is they have too many guys that kind of play the same positions.
Okay.
And they need to bring in a star or two. Now, the thing is they have the money to do it because they have a lot of you look at this roster, like who's making money on this roster?
Nobody.
Really, outside of D'Angelo Russell, everybody else is pretty cheap on this team. So they're going to have money to bring in some guys to attract some free agents. Now, again, do you want, what free agent wants to come to Brooklyn, pay really high taxes? And like you said, I mean, I don't completely disagree with you. You're playing on like the secondary team. You know what I mean? It's not, like why would you go to Brooklyn instead of just going to the Knicks?
Exactly. See, that's the thing right there. When they talk about the Nets and free agency, it's going to be tough to build for the Nets to build in free agency because the Nets got the same amount of money that the Knicks got that they can spend. And if you come and say, okay, I want to go to New York, it's almost like, why would I go to the Nets? I get it and all of that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, like you said, the problem is like both teams are in the same spot. Like both teams have a big amount of money to spend. Both teams have a couple players on them. But when it comes to it, the bigger stage is Madison Square Garden, not the Barclays Center in Brooklyn.
Yeah,
and
which
I don't care.
It's a lovely joint, and it's much cheaper to go to the Madison Square Garden.
I mean, I've been there a couple times. It's not hard to get to either. Even from New Jersey, it's not hard to get to. It's two different trains, and you're right there. They drop you right off across the street, 2 trains, and you're back home. But, yeah, I mean, when you think about it, like if I'm a big-time free agent, I mean, like Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, these are the guys that their names are being kicked about. Kyrie grew up as a Nets fan, and he's still being linked to the Knicks. So what does that tell you?
Exactly. Kyrie, New Jersey guy, so back in the day of the New Jersey Nets. A lot of people say, a lot of things that I saw this morning was, and people said this a lot this season, how does the Lakers let D'Angelo Russell get away? And my thing is, the situation that Russell put himself in as an immature young man, taping another player, talking about a side piece, you couldn't keep him in that locker room, Benny. Even if you knew he was going to blow up like this at some point, you could not keep him in that locker room.
I mean, I disagree. I think you needed to make a move to get one of those two out of the locker room. And they chose Nick Young over D'Angelo Russell.
Makes sense.
I mean, listen, you said the most important part of that thing is the first thing you said. He was a young kid who made a mistake. He was 18, 19, 20 years. Like he was first or second year in the league when he did that, right? Now, again, there's the bro code and all that stuff, and you got to put that in there. But here's a 19-year-old kid. You got to excuse a 19-year-old kid for doing dumb shit that 19-year-old kids do.
I get it.
Normally, that would have been something that he did in college with one of his boys. He would have got his ass beat, and he would have learned his lesson and not done something like that in the real world when he became a man. But he left after 1 year of college, so really that was like his sophomore, junior year of college when he did what he did right there. You know what I'm saying? When he kind of blew up Nick Young's spot.
Yeah, and you're right. It probably would have been a better deal to let Nick Young walk. But my thing is the dudes in the locker room probably would have made it very uncomfortable and awkward situation. Because at this point, who wants to hang out with you at that point? See, that's the thing when I'm like,
no, but you're a 19-year-old kid. You're not even supposed to be in the club anyway. So what's the difference? Go home and play video games. There's a whole bunch of college chicks that you can bang.
This is Benny, you make an excellent point. Got a couple big games going down in the association tonight. You got Boston and Philadelphia in Philadelphia. Philadelphia can't seem to crack the code with Boston. I believe last I saw they were laying 2.5 tonight. Mm-hmm. Man, I'm looking at it. Teams going in not really opposite directions. Boston won 3 out the last 5. Philadelphia, I know they've won at least 5 games in a row. Games in Philly where Philly plays better at. Boston has their number, though, Benny. This is going to be a playoff atmosphere in Boston tonight.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, Embiid set out last night so that he could play here today. But for the rest of the Sixers, this is a back-to-back. So that might weigh into that line a little bit as well with everybody else playing big minutes yesterday in that game. I actually do like Boston to win this game here tonight. I memean, like you said.
It's kind of hard not to.
Philly hasn't been able to crack the code. Once I see Philly figure out how to beat Boston, then I'll be like, okay, I'll go the other way. Boston, man, this team, they're deep. They're well coached. They're good defensively. Like I just feel like when they get in a close game with Philly, like Boston has guys that know how to win close games.
Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, well, that is the guy exactly.
Yeah,
I'm not sure that Philly does. Like Philly has.
I want to know what Philly is. Will Embiid or Butler become that guy?
And that's what they need. And one of those two needs to step up and be like, again, if this is a close game and it comes down to one possession on this side, one possession on this side, back and forth, I'm going to have more faith that Boston wins it because of Kyrie Irving. No
doubt. I agree with you on that one. I think the Eastern Conference playoffs is going to be real interesting in the second round. Mm-hmm. Look, I think the Pistons are a team Dwayne Casey coached coming into the 6th seed right now. So they'll more than likely play Philadelphia in the first round. I don't think they have enough to beat Philly, but I think Detroit has enough to make a series interesting. But when you get to the second round of the Eastern Conference, it's going to be Milwaukee, Toronto, Philadelphia, and Boston. The way it's shaking up right now is that Boston will play Milwaukee, Philadelphia will play Toronto. Boston and Milwaukee. Milwaukee's been the number 1 team in basketball all year long.
Uh-huh.
Everybody's saying that they're going to get beat by Boston in the second round.
I don't agree with that, to be perfectly honest.
I'm starting to think that may not be the case.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like I said, we were talking about them the other day. They're a very good defensive team, one of the best defensive teams in the league, but they're also able to play fast. So they play at a really high pace. They're a good defensive team, and they put up a lot of points. That's like the perfect mix of everything there. It's like, you're a team that can play a 130, 125 game with Philadelphia and beat them, or you could play a 98, 97 game with the Celtics and beat them there.
Mm-hmm.
They have the ability to do that. Now, like you pick up a guy like Nikola Mirotic at the trade deadline. Now, I know Mirotic hasn't done much up to this point, but you had Giannis out last night. He came in. He had a 20-point game. You have guys like Ersan Ilyasova coming off the bench. Pat Connaughton has shown that he could play a little bit. Losing Malcolm Brogdon is a little bit of a hit. I really like Malcolm Brogdon. He was just a very solid player for them. He was a good scorer.
That's just a little bit of a hit, losing Brogdon?
I mean, the reason why it's only a little bit of a hit is that they have enough other guys where, they could make up for that loss. And that's what I'm saying is like this team is deeper than people really give them credit for. They got a lot of players, and they're gearing up for the run. Like if you look at the moves that they're making, like they went out and picked up Pau Gasol. Now, I agree, Pau Gasol is towards the end of the career, but you're not asking Pau Gasol for 25, 40 minutes a night. You're asking me to
foul some people.
Yeah, give me 8 to 12 good minutes and don't screw it up with my second unit. A guy like George Hill who they picked up. Same thing. I'm not asking you to be my starting point guard, but go run my second team. Don't have anything go wrong. And if Eric Bledsoe gets in foul trouble,
and make your free throws.
Yeah, and if Eric Bledsoe gets in foul trouble, every once in a while I'm going to need to give you 20-something minutes. You got to be prepared for that. They're doing all the right things to build a team that's ready to go into the playoffs and, kind of weather foul trouble here and injury there, stuff like that, and still be able to play. Now, obviously, if the injury is to Giannis or to like Chris Middleton or Bledsoe, that's a different story. But, again, they have enough talent where they could lose a guy here or there and still wind up winning basketball.
Let me ask you this one, Benny. Percent chance that the Milwaukee Bucks are representing the Eastern Conference in the finals?
I mean, I have them as the favorite. I'm going to say it's still only about 35-40% chance because I do think that the 4 teams that you mentioned, you could honestly make a case for any of those 4 teams being there. So they're all going to be at least 15-20% chances. I don't really think anybody besides those 4 teams has a chance, though.
No, nobody. No, those 4 teams, nobody has a chance. Yeah. Toronto, Philadelphia, Boston, Milwaukee. It's going to be interesting to see how the Eastern Conference plays out. Tonight Oklahoma City is home tonight for Toronto. Toronto's fine. They're going to be set. Oklahoma City is like the 6 or 7 seed in the West right now. Only 3 games out, 2-3 games out of the 3rd seed. So the West still got a little bit to shake out as we move along and go down the stretch. I've never been impressed with Oklahoma City, to be honest with you. I like Paul George. I think he was on the MVP pace at one point.
Yep.
Got a little bit banged up, kind of slowed down a little bit. I'm not the big Russell Westbrook guy that everybody else is. I think his act is kind of immature, not to mention the fact I never seen him win. Like, I think he hurts his team in big moments more than he helps his team. I think he's a statistical player. You know what I'm saying? He's a stat pattern. I get killed for having these opinions a lot about Russell Westbrook. They got this big game tonight. I'm looking at the Western Conference, Benny, and give me your take on Oklahoma City. Can they put it like this? Who's going to be the team that the Warriors are going to play in the Western Conference Finals? Can it be OKC?
No, I don't think it's going to be OKC. I mean, to me, the problem with OKC is they don't have enough talent on that team. Like, I like a guy like, Jeremy Grant. If Jeremy Grant is your 7th, 8th man, that's huge. Like, that's awesome. Jeremy Grant as your 4th best player, not really what you want to go on. Like, Westbrook is an amazing player. Paul George is an amazing player. Steven Adams is a fine center, to play at that level and be a championship team because he's the defensive guy and the rebounder, and that's fine. They need more pieces, though. That's the problem. Like, Dennis Schroeder's a nice player, but if Dennis Schroeder was your first guard off the bench and, Jeremy Grant was your first big guy off the bench, that's fine. But when those are your other 2 starters on this team, and then the drop-off even from there, like, Abdel Nadir and Terrence Ferguson.
Goes down, bro. Yep.
They lost Nerlens Noel last night, who was at least a decent option there. So, now you're down to, like, is it Patrick Patterson again? I mean, they don't have enough depth to really do anything. They have two of the better players in basketball, two top 25 players in basketball with, Paul George and Russell Westbrook. But the drop off after that is just too big. I mean, you look at a team like the Warriors, they got 3 or 4 guys in that mid range with Clay and, Andre Iguodala, guys like that. OKC has 2 studs at the top, 1 or 2 mid range guys, and then everybody else is
lucky to be in the NBA.
Exactly.
I probably have asked doing shows, talking to NBA guys, basketball guys. I've asked them all one question, and I've got a different answer from every single person.
Okay.
Who is the second best team in the Western Conference?
I mean, I'm going to go the Rockets.
Okay.
But I see where you're coming from because, I mean, it's not an easy question to answer. Like, a lot of people might have said, what, the Nuggets?
Nobody has said the Nuggets.
Really?
But the Nuggets have been the second best team, or maybe even the first best team in the Eastern Conference.
I was just going to say, I mean, I think they actually have the better record than the Warriors right now, I think.
The Warriors may have one less loss.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say the other day they were basically tied. I don't know how things have worked out since when I looked. But, yeah, I mean, the Nuggets are a really good team too. See, this is why I like the West is I don't really think there is a second best team. If there's 3 or 4 different teams that could wind up being the team that the Warriors face. And honestly, they may even wind up being the team the Warriors face in the second round. So you don't know, like the Warriors-Rockets could wind up being a second round matchup.
Yeah, that's the thing. Everybody wants to get to that 3 spot to avoid the teams they rather play Denver in the second round than to play Golden State in the second round. So that's what makes the 3 spot in the Western Conference, a very coveted spot because the second round matchup you get the Nuggets. My thing is, why is everybody sleeping on the Nuggets?
I mean, they missed the playoffs last year, so I think they came back this year. Yeah, literally just missed the last day or 2 of the season by like 1 game.
That last game against the Timberwolves.
The thing about them right now, too, is that they're actually finally starting to get healthy. I mean, you had Jamal Murray out for a little while. He's been back and playing well. Gary Harris still doesn't look right, but at least he's back right now. Paul Millsap missed a big portion of the year. He's back. Will Barton missed a portion of the year. He's back. And then that second string of guys that, was basically your bench players for most of the year with all these guys missing time here and there, all those guys have gotten better because they've all seen a lot more court time. The Monty Morrises, the Malik Beasleys, the Plumlees. Like, these were guys that you weren't sure about. And now, after seeing them basically as starters for a good portion of the year, there's a lot of depth on this Denver Nuggets team. So, yeah, I know people are sleeping on them, but this is a very good basketball team.
Going to be interesting to see how the Western Conference plays out. Don't forget, everybody checking out the video, for all the links to where you can go to subscribe, right there in the description. If you click on Show More, it gives you all the links where you can subscribe to Fantasy Guru, subscribe to Fantasy Guru. You can subscribe to Guru Elite. And then you can also enter the $1 Million Bracket Challenge. So all of those links are sitting right there. So get involved with all the stuff at the Elite Fantasy Sports Network, and make sure you subscribe right here on the YouTube page so you get the notification when the video is posted every day of the opening line. Beny, before we get ready to get out of here, give me some thoughts on Arizona State and St. John's tonight. St. John's has the best player on the court in Shamari Pond. St. John's has been terrible so far in the second half of the season, particularly in the month of March. Arizona State playing better ball right now. Yeah. I believe last I saw it, State was a 2-point favorite. I'm taking the Johnnies. I won them at 2.5, 3. What do you think about the game tonight?
Yeah, I actually went the other way. I have Arizona State. And you mentioned the reason why. I mean, St. John's at the beginning of the year, they started off on fire. People were talking about them making noise in the tournament. And then they just kind of fell off the cliff. So I am always more inclined at tournament time to take the team on the upswing than the team on the downswing.
I agree.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be a close game, but I'm going with Arizona State. Also because I need Arizona State to finish off some parlays from yesterday. So I got a lot more riding on that.
Yeah. You know what? My thing is I think it's a fade to public spot. I think the two teams are evenly matched. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, Pons is the better player. Arizona State can't score. They have trouble scoring. They're a good offensive rebounding team, which is a weakness for St. John's. So it's going to be a lot of putbacks and missed threes on both sides of the ball. Pons being the better player, I think he can help St. John's get it done. But the fact that 75% of the public is on Arizona State, 75% of the tickets are on Arizona State, I'm going to swing it back the other way. with a local team. You know what I'm saying? Listen, it's not science. You know what I'm saying? I'm just going for it any way I can. Big piece of chicken. We talked about him already earlier. My BOPC of the night was my main man, D'Angelo Russell of the Brooklyn Nets. 44 points, bringing the Nets back from 25 in the fourth quarter, Benny.
Yeah, so my big piece of chicken is going to Mike Trout, man. $360 million extension right there. And the best part about it is I got a lot of friends from college that are Philadelphia Phillies fans that are from that Philly area right over there. Now I don't got to listen to them talk about Trout and Harper playing together because now that ain't happening. So
it's not going to happen. But speaking of Philly fans, before we let you go, shout out to Fran Dunphy and Phil Martelli, two coaches of the Big Five. Both of them let go yesterday. Fran Dunphy, obviously Temple getting eliminated by Belmont, and then Phil Martelli fired kind of out of nowhere. You know what I'm saying? And those are two guys that have been on the Philadelphia basketball scene forever, Benny.
Yeah. I remember when he was coaching St. Joe's when they had, Jameer Nelson. And
that was a hell of a team, undefeated in the regular season.
They were good, man. That team was fun to watch. So shout out to him. He's a good coach. Hopefully he picks up somewhere else.
My man. So for my man, Beny Ricciardi, I'm Corey Parson, the fantasy executive at the Opening Line, Elite Fantasy Sports Radio Network. We are out.